just maybe a couple of things to draw out for the audience, and this is very familiar to me in my work as well, is one is that very keen focus on business value and on revenue. And I think you articulated that in both the D's and the E's, right? Defining what that is, what the pain point is, and then, ease of generating revenue or generating some kind of measurable results. So I think that's a really key thing to highlight. The ethics thing, agree, and I think that might be, given that you're in financial services and there's just so many different aspects that I think your industry is ahead of many others in terms of dealing with the impacts and kind of having a framework. So I think we should talk about that a bit more. But maybe before we come to the ethics, there are a couple of points you made in there which I think are very important. So in my experience, senior executives understand how to run a business. They understand what a value prop. Their eyes sort of glaze over when we start talking about algorithms and models. So I wonder, in terms of, as a senior executive, but then with this career progression, are there some good learnings you have around how to explain the work that we do and make it intelligible so that the senior folks kind of know enough to be supportive, but don't get lost in the details too much?
Yes, it's very important for the CDO's role to understand that you have to explain difficult issues in the simple, keep simple. For that, it's very important to translate what we do to the business words. It means we have to talk about revenue, we have to talk about cost, we have to talk about value, as you mentioned before. That's the way the management team understand how we work with data. Nobody at the bank or Equifax or what else asked me which algorithm I use.
Right.
No. Nobody asked me which data we use. They asked me how improve our revenue, how we can reduce the cost or to at the same time. It's very important to understand that. If we talk, you and me, about algorithms, is one way, but when we go to the board, we have to talk about business, how they make decisions, how to improve his informed decision. For me, it's very important to keep simple and talk about business, not only data or algorithms or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice. And for our audience, this is a theme that's come up in a number of my thought leader interviews in the series here, is both that focus on business value and explaining things in kind of terms that business leaders can understand. But there are a couple of things, though, I want to connect that I think you'll have a really interesting view on. So let's come back to this question of data ethics and the regulatory landscape, and I guess a couple of things that would be worth talking about, and we can kind of take these one at a time, or you can pick in any order you like. So one is, as a financial services company, I think you're on the forefront, and your industry has done leading work on PII data privacy, data security. There's another whole consideration, and kind of what triggered this thought is we're saying, well, like, we want to explain things in in business terms to senior executives, but now there's this whole question about accountability and bias in algorithms. So maybe if you could share a couple of thoughts, one on the overall direction of regulatory what you see in financial services and maybe what other industries can learn. And then, kind of what's your perspective on how you start building organizational and also technical capabilities that can address issues of bias, which, and just for the audience, I'll explain this hopefully correctly. For example, in algorithms that do credit approvals, there's a significant concern that people don't understand how those algorithms work and that they may be including implicit bias in the by the designers of the algorithm or in the data. So this is kind of a huge and really interesting emerging area. So I know that was about 18 questions wrapped into one, but let's sort of see if we can start peeling this apart one layer at a time, because I think there's a lot here that's of really high interest and value.
Yes, it's very interesting issue about the regulatory and the ethics and biases refer of all of these issues. And particularly in the financial services and healthcare and telco have the same problem. It's very important to divide the problem into regulatory and ethics. Regulatory is clear today after the European Union have a new law, a new regulation about privacy. We have to work to design products and algorithms and with this in mind. For me, it's very important to work with a lawyer closely to design new product, new algorithms, etc. But at the other side is ethics. Perhaps you have the okay to use the data. You have a very interesting algorithm. It's a white box and so on. But when you make a decision about the data you have a problem with privacy related to the life of people, perhaps you are okay for the law, perhaps you are okay for the regulation, but you make a decision as a manager that imply intruding in the private life of people. For me, it's very important. My team have this in mind every day. Okay, we have the data, we have the algorithms, and which decision we have to make. I offer this product or not. I'm very careful for this because you can improve the value with data, improve the value with algorithms, but you destroy value with a bad decision with this data, reputational value is very important in this day, and perhaps you destroy a lot of value with a bad decision. And if you consider biases in these models or algorithms and so on, you have to think that if you don't fix these biases, you will have a wrong decision to make. When you design algorithms and you find biases, the biases is how people interact each one another. And you have the opportunity with these tools, with data management, analytics, and data science, to reduce the social biases. For me, it's very important to improve this, perhaps society, by data science. For me, it's a very important point, very important issue related to the impact of data science in society. In my team, we have two moments that analyze biases. The first one is when we access new data, analyze the data. If the data is okay, have biases or something like that. And the second is when we finish the development of the algorithms, we have to analyze different variables and understand if the variables is correlated or imply causality. You know, if the variables imply causality, it's not a biases. It's okay. You have a good algorithm. But if you have a different variables that imply correlation but not causality, perhaps you have a biases in the algorithms, and you have to improve this algorithm. You know.